there for us. James, good morning. You, my friend, backed Rishi Sunak in that second Conservative leadership race last year. You've been very supportive of him. I just want to ask you an initial question on some breaking news that we've been given from The Times. They are alleging, breaking news, that Andy Street, the hugely popular mayor of the West Midlands, Tory mayor, who's been quite outspoken about the problems at HS2, had a meeting with Rishi Sunak last night, which didn't go well. And there are rumours, James Sunderland, that potentially Andy Street could resign in protest from his role before the speech this afternoon. I put this to you. It ain't going too well for your boss, is it, my friend?
Well, look, I'm a Berkshire MP, and good morning, by the way. I don't have much dealings with Andy Street personally, but I've met him a few times. He's an excellent mayor, and I'd hope, of course, he does not resign.
And the Home Secretary yesterday, James, she spoke of unprecedented mass migration, describing what has come to a hurricane. Is that kind of rhetoric being used by Suella accurate? Do you think it's a fair assessment, or do you think this is her setting out her stall as potential leader of the Tory party?
Well, I know Suella very well. I'm her PPS. That's her style. That's her language. And as Home Secretary, her job is to elevate these issues. It's to bring them to the public light. It's to bring them to the fore. And this is a woman who, on a daily basis, gets briefed by her team, by her ministers. She's talking to chief constables. She's talking to police and crime commissioners. She's visiting Border Force, and she knows what she's talking about.
James, let's bring it down a level and just get a response from you as a Tory, as a man, not just as a loyal MP. The Tory party conference, any party conference, is supposed to be the highlight of the year. It's where the leader is feted and where, you know, everybody comes together. After 13 years of rule, it would be fair to say that this has been overshadowed by arguments about HS2, arguments initiated by your cabinet, Michael Gove earlier in the week saying there should be tax cuts. We've had Liz Truss rushing around being feted. I've used that word twice in one question. It shows my mindset this morning. She's been feted by everybody. This is a woman who lasted, well, not as long as a lettuce a year ago. And it does strike me, certainly, that this for Rishi is D-Day, a seminal moment. He talks about wanting to change politics, the way it's done, but he's been part of this government for a while. Do you think he can turn public opinion back from what I imagine many people think is you've had 13 years and we're going around in circles?
Well, look, I've been here since Sunday and the mood is very positive. The glass is always half full for me. We've got good people here working really hard, and there's been a great turnout. The atmosphere is very, very positive. It's buzzing here, in fact, and we're looking forward to the speech today. Nobody knows what Rishi's going to say, but this idea that Rishi has to somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat, it's complete nonsense. We've got calm and stable government. My life is a lot easier as an MP, perhaps, a year on than it was, because my inbox is quieter, my postbag is not quite so busy. I think we've got a great Prime Minister at the moment. He's getting on with the job and delivering for the people. So I think the idea that the media needs to sort of embellish what's going wrong here is complete nonsense.
But, James, it's not embellishing it to say that you're still many, many points behind in the general election opinion polls. It's not unfair to suggest that a Prime Minister who said yesterday, I don't think the country wants a general election. What the country wants is clarity, and I'm not saying that that's coming from dreary Starmer. What I'm saying is we hear swathe after swathe of new policies, and yet you've got about a year to get them in and get them working and turn this tide. Can you do it?
Yeah, of course he can do it. I mean, the polls, in my view, aren't necessarily accurate. We were 20 points behind a matter of months ago. We're now 10, 12 points behind. So the gap is narrowing all of the time. The party's becoming more conservative. I'm a low-tax, low-state, low-regulation conservative. So I'm really enjoying the direction of travel at the moment. And Rishi, I've no doubt at all, will give a good speech today. He will articulate his priorities for the next 12 months. No one knows when the election might be, but I think this talk is very premature. There's still a long way to go. There's no love for Starmer out there at all, and we've got a good Prime Minister who's getting on and doing the job.
James, just really quickly, you say that the Prime Minister is going to set out his stall for the next 12 months, what his priorities are. How have his 5 priorities for the previous 12 months been going?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
How have his 5 priorities for the previous 12 months been going? Halve inflation, stop the votes, etc.?
Well, look, he set out his priorities. There's 5 pledges there. They're all progressing. Inflation hasn't quite halved yet, but it's bound to halve, I'm sure, between now and the end of the year. He's stopping the small boats. Small boats are down. NHS waiting lists are coming down. So all of the things that he said he would do, he is doing. But of course, Rome wasn't built in a day. And this idea that you can wave a magic wand as a politician and just suddenly fix things is nonsense as well. We've got to make sure that we support the government. We've got a good government now, good ministers, good people working really hard for the country.
James,
and the Prime Minister is cracking on and delivering for the people.
I would respectfully suggest NHS waiting lists aren't going down. But here's what I would say. Imagine me very quickly, Sarah, and I really appreciate you being on the show, as a disenfranchised red wall Tory voter who put Boris Johnson in power. I want tax cuts. I'm not bothered about the economy. I'm not bothered about the eco-zealots. I'm not bothered about anything like that. I want more money for the pound in my pocket. Do I trust the Tory government? Yes or no? And if so, why? Very briefly, my friend.
Yes, you do. The Chancellor said at his stall in his speech earlier in the conference, he's made it quite clear right now that a balanced, fiscally responsible government is the way forward. The economy is turning, it's growing. We've got great growth in comparison to other G7 countries. We need to trust the Chancellor and trust the government. And this is all about supporting working people, working families. That's what we're doing.